What we're going to do for the warm up today, we're going to warm up neck, shoulders, hips as well. So we'll start with neck curls. So very similar to what we've been doing before with the thoracic curls, to get you to kneel or sit or stand, whichever is comfortable for you guys. And then we're going to bring that chin down towards our chest. Try to keep the shoulders relaxed throughout this. And then we're going to scoop that neck out towards the left-hand side. Try to get a nice big stretch along the front of our right side of the neck. We're going to drop the left ear down towards the left shoulder. And then just being mindful of the back of the neck, reach the head back up and around and drop the right ear over towards the right shoulder. We're going to rotate the head out now to look out towards the right hand side. And then scoop the right chin down along the chest and come back up. And then we'll do it the other way. So chin goes down towards the chest, scoops out along the collarbone, looks over that shoulder, and then we drop the right ear down towards the right shoulder. And then we're going to reach the head back up and around. Drop the left ear down towards the left shoulder. Let's look over the left shoulder. And then scoop the head back and around. And I'm just going to get you guys to do one more round on that. So bringing that chin out along the left-hand side. Looking over that left shoulder. And then drop the left ear down. So take it just nice and slow. Reach the chin up and around. Drop that right ear down towards the right shoulder. Let's look over the right shoulder. And then scoop the chin back down and around. And come back up. One more time to finish the loop. So chin goes down. Go a little bit faster on this if you want. Right shoulder, right ear to right shoulder. Head back up and around. And dropping that left ear down. Looking over the left shoulder. And scooping down. Just for our shoulders, we're going to do both shoulders at the same time. So hands out in front. They can come out a little bit like this. We're just trying to keep them on the same level. And we're going to go up towards the ears. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Back and down. And then let those hands come out. Reverse it. Shoulder blades go back. So we squeeze them together. Shoulder blades up. Forward. And then down. And let's reverse it. So up. Back. Down. And separate them. And then squeeze them together. Up. Forward. Down. Do one or two more of those. Almost like imagine that you're creating squares with those shoulders. So you're trying to get down, back, up, front, and down. And then you can just roll out the shoulders a couple of times. We're going to go into a side lying position. We're going to do a hip cart and a shoulder cart. So this might be neat for some people. It might be fairly familiar for others. So just get you to lie down onto the side. If you want, this is where you can have that pillow. You can put the pillow underneath your head, or you can just use your bicep as a pillow. So for the hip ones, try to make sure those hips stay stacked on top of each other. So I always try and keep my hand here on top as a bit of feedback. When you feel like you need to counterbalance, you can also put your hand out in front. Creating a little bit of a space between those two knees. We're going to kick this leg back behind us, squeeze the glute. So I'm really activating my glute and hamstring here. I'm going to lift up towards the ceiling. Try and get that shin bone parallel with the ground. Knee goes up towards the ceiling. And then it comes up and around towards my shoulder. Down in line with my chest, and then I kick it back and I'm back to my starting position, and then I'm going to reverse it. Knee comes up towards my chest, lifts up towards the ceiling, knee goes down, ankle goes up, so I'm internally rotating here, and then I scoop back and around. Really watch now on this bit that the hips don't roll back, so really try and keep them stacked, and then back down in front. We'll do one more on these. Kick that hip back, make sure the torso stays steady, lift up. Feel that on the side of the glute, and then the knee goes up. We try and scoop it around towards our shoulders and come back down. Try and hold here in this position for a second. We're going to be working on some hip flexor stuff. Just try and hold for a second or two. And then come back down. And let's reverse it. Knee comes back up. Let's hold for a second or two. Then knee and ankle go up towards the ceiling. Knee drops down. Ankle comes up. And then we scoop that leg back and around into our glute kick back position and come back in. What we're going to do now is for our shoulder. So hand comes out in front, the top arm. Lift the hand up, your thumb is pointing up towards the top of your head, your palm is facing down. We're going to bring that arm up towards our ear, our cheek, or our chin, And then I'm going to scoop my thumb down towards the ground, try and wrap it up towards the ceiling. So I'm internally rotating that shoulder and I'm reaching back and around behind me, arm nice and straight. Again, try and watch that the torso doesn't rock back. So we keep it steady here. Bend the elbow, tip the back. And then let's straighten the arm. Let's open the arm on the bicep, palm of the hand up towards the ceiling. Bring that back up and around. Start rotating that palm down towards the ground now. We're back in along the shoulder, the cheek, the chin, and we come back down. Let's do that again. Lift up. Thumb goes up overhead, palm facing down. Then I'm opening that palm up towards the ceiling, trying to swim that arm back behind me. Bending the elbow a little bit. Let's tip the lower back, and then I straighten that elbow again. Open the bicep up towards the ceiling. Try and reach that arm up overhead. And then start letting the bicep point down, palm point down towards the ground as I'm in between my cheek and my chin. And then I lower back down. And then we're just going to push up and we're going to change over onto the other side. And then we'll get cracking into the flow. So essentially this position is the exact same as what we do when we're in our quadruped position or cat-cow position, but we just change the direction of gravity a little bit. So what we're going to do, create that space between the two knees, push this heel back to the wall behind us, squeeze the glute and hamstring, and then let's lift that knee up towards the ceiling. Knee points up and scoops around towards my shoulder, and then comes down in line with my chest, and try and keep my back flat here, so make sure my tailbone doesn't tip under, and then bring that back in line with my thigh. Let's reverse it. Knee goes up towards the chest. I lift that leg up and around. Knee goes down, and I scoop back. And then I'm into that glute kick back position. Squeeze the glute and hamstring, and come back in. Let's reverse it. So we're on to our second rep now. Squeeze the glute and hamstring, lift that leg up. Knee points up towards the ceiling in the shoulder. I'm trying to scoop it up and around. And then we're bringing it in line with the torso. Really try and feel that the tailbone's flat here. Use the hip flexor to pull that thigh in towards the chest. Hold for a second or two. And then come back down. And let's return. So squeeze that thigh in towards the chest. Knee goes down, ankle goes up, and let's scoot back and around. Again, you'll feel this inside the hip. Hamstrings and glutes are probably kicking in about here. And then let's bring that back in. Hand out in front. We're going to go into the shoulders. So lift the arm up and around. Let's bring that arm as straight and as close as we can to our cheek. Opening up the arm and the biceps, so the palm of the hand goes up towards the ceiling, and I keep twisting that around as I bring that arm back and around behind me. Let's bend the elbow, tip the lower back, and then straighten the arm. Open the bicep and palm up towards the ceiling and bring it back and around. Just really watch that that torso doesn't rock back when you do that. And then let the palm of the hand face down and bring it out in front. Do that one more time. Up. Try and keep that arm at the same level. Open the hand and bicep towards the ceiling, reach back and around. Make sure that torso doesn't rock back. Keep twisting the arm in, bend the elbow, tip the lower back, and then straighten it. And we go back the way we came. So the palm goes up towards the ceiling, reach up and around. Just trying to get a nice big stretch into the shoulder. Lovely. So what we're going to do to start our flow, we're going to start in the cat-cow position. We are going to do some spinal waves in this flow. So we're going to do 1 or 2 cat-cows, and then we're going to go into some fire hydrant variations for our hips. So getting set up, toes kind of towards the end of the mat, hands underneath the shoulders, and we're going to do our normal cat-cow warm-up. So tip the tailbone under, pull up through that abdomen, round through the lower back, and just really try and think about isolating each section of your spine, creating lots of space. And then starting with the tailbone, we're going to go back the other way. So tailbone tips up towards the ceiling. I try and drop my lower back down towards the ground. My rib cage starts going down towards the lower ground now. Chest goes down, scoops forward, and I come up. We'll do that again. Tuck the tailbone under. Try and keep the chin up here. Really round each section one at a time. Create that space in between the shoulder blades, round through that upper back, and tuck the chin. And then let's reverse it. Tailbone goes up. Drop the belly button down, rib cage down, chest down, scoops forward, and chin comes up. You can just relax there. I'm going to turn around so you guys can see what I'm doing from a front on position. Two options here, normal fire hydrants, or you can do geckos where the arm is at a 90 degree and you lift that out. You just want to make sure that you're not shifting the hips side to side so that when you lift that leg, this hip pokes out to the side. Really try and keep everything centered. We're going to go right leg, left hand. So if you want that left arm's at 90 degrees, and we're going to lift up and out and hold, and then come back down. Lift up and out and hold, come back down. Lift up, out and hold. Now bring that left hand down towards the mat. Try and straighten that right leg if you have the space. Good. Lower that leg down. And let's try and lift that leg again. If you don't have the space, you can just keep it bent. Good. Let's lower back down. Let's lift. Final time. And then lowering that leg back down. We're going to go into what's called adductor rocks, and it's going to be a great stretch for the groin. Try and think about your back being flat as you push the hips back behind you. So it's not about rounding the spine here. We're almost imagining that back is a tabletop and we're trying to push the hips back. So it's going to really work on that stretch on the inside of the hips. Good. And then what we're going to do for this last one, we try and push as far as you can back. So for some of us, that's going to be kind of in this almost half kneeling position. You can kind of use your hands to stay supported if you need to. We're going to try and pivot this straight leg. So I'm going to try and get the toes pointing up towards the ceiling. We're working on that internal and external rotation of the thigh. So I'm trying to keep my hips steady and that thigh rotating. So again, for any sort of squats, being able to rotate the hips and the femur bone in the hip socket is really important. So again, it may not move for some of us, that's okay, but we're just trying to get that mind muscle connection and own the internal and external rotation. We're going to come forward again into that tall kneeling position. Hips up like this, reach down towards the side and then just go into a side bend. So you're getting a really nice stretch and then just kind of swing the arm up and over. I personally love this one. So get a nice big stretch all down the side. Just go a couple of reps on this and then we're going to change over onto the other side. Okay. And then bring that hand down and around and we're going to swap over onto the other side. So again, geckos if you want to, have the right arm bent. You're going to lift that left leg out to the side and we're really trying to think about knee being high here. So it's not the knee drop down, ankle up, the knee is high, come back down. Let's go again. So we're working on strengthening the glutes. And then if you're using the arm as well, strengthen the shoulders. Last one, right hand can come down. Let's try and straighten that leg. Hold for a second or two, and then lower that leg down. Let's try and lift up, and down, and up. And again, the trick is here that we're trying not to let the hips shift down to the other side when we do it. So we're really trying to use this hip strength. Let's drop the foot down and go into those rocks. So forward, back, just trying to open up the hips a little bit. Nice. And again, then on that last one, we're going to sink the hips back as far as it's comfortable for you. And then try and rotate the toes up towards the ceiling and back. So again, it's not that hip rocking. My hips are staying steady. I'm trying to think about rotating that thigh in my hip socket. Again, if you can't do this, it's just trying to form that mind muscle connection with the leg. So then maybe next time or the time after that, we're able to do it. Funny. And then coming up into that tall kneeling position, let's reach the right hand down towards the ground and then reach up and over. And if you need to be up on your fingertips here, that's totally fine. Perfect. And then bring that hand down and around in front. And if you're like me and you had to shift your position on the mat, we'll just come back around to face forward. What we're going to do is have the knees slightly towards the outside of the mat. Some of you guys have done this with me before. Try and have the feet closer in towards each other. Hands out in front. We're going to do what's called frog push-ups. So we're going to try and open up the hip. It's not about just dropping the hips down to the ground. You want to pull up through the lower abdomen. We're trying to stretch out the hips. So come forward, core tight. Just bend down as far as you can with those hips and then push back. Come forward, push down and push back up. And for some of us, just coming forward here is going to be enough, and that's fine. But if you want to try and get that push up and lower all the way down to the ground and then push back up, we're going to go for 5 on these. So we have 2 more. Last one. And now we're going to go into what's called a mini wave unload. So the knees are going to stay down on this. And we're going to try and create a wave with our spine. So we pull ourselves forward, round through our back, curve as we pull ourselves forward. Let's drop the hips down a little bit here now. Shoulders back and down, chest up. They're not going to come all the way down. Try and keep the feet on the ground. Tuck the chin, round back. And curve through. Now, if you want, you can stay in that position, or if you want to do the full wave unloads, we're going to go into a bit of a sequence. So the hips go up towards the ceiling, into that downward dog, and then I round through that spine as I pull myself over, drop the hips down, shoulders back and down, chest up. Tuck the chin, return to the way I came, curve to that spine, push all the way back. And let's do 2 more. Hips up, round forward. Let's try and speed it up a little bit. Drop the shoulder down, chest up, chin up, and return. Curving back. And let's do 2 more. Round, nice and fast again. You always have those mini ones if you want to. And last time, hips up, round forward. Drop the hips down and come back. You can either stay in a loaded beast position or drop down into a child's pose if you want to rock in a rest. We're going to go into some beast reaches next. So hips up, right leg beast reach, come up and forward and try and hover that right knee outside the right thigh. If you need to, back knee can stay there. Bring that knee inside the hands now and then out towards the left forearm. Come back in towards the center, outside the right knee, and then push back, hips high, into that loaded beast. We're going to do the same on the left side. Reach up, left knee tucks, outside that left elbow, in towards the center, in between the 2 hands, and then out towards the right forearm. Let's bring it back in towards the center, outside the left forearm, and then push back, down, and take a rest here. What we're going to do next are some down dog pumps. So tuck the toes under, push those hips up, get the toes pointing forward, up into a full down dog. So pushing those hips high towards the ceiling, drop the chest down. Stay up on your toes here. Let's bend the knees. Again, working those hip flexors a little bit, and then push the hips up, drop the heels down. Bend the knees. Stay up onto our toes, and then drop the heels down, hips go high, straighten those legs. Let's just do a couple of rounds on these. Just trying to warm up the shoulders again, and then also the thighs. You can do it as fast or as slow as you want. And then what we're going to do, stay up high onto our toes, and let's walk those hands in towards, or feet in towards our hands, excuse me. Try to have the feet flat on the ground here. Bend the knees so the hands can come onto the ground. And then what I want you to do is look back in between your ankles and try and rock your way over onto your hands. So for some of us who are going to have the hands really far out, that's okay. Come up onto your toes here and push the hands into the ground. Try and get those biceps outside the ears. So it's really nice and active. We're trying to practice that handstand position. So rock forward. We're imagining we're holding something up overhead and then rock back. Relax the hands. So come onto the feet here. Let's do that again. Hands flat, rock forward, look back in between the knees or the ankles, push the ground away. Taking most of the weight with our hands and then rock back again onto the feet. Relax the hands. We'll do that one more time. Hands come forward onto the mat, rock up onto our tippy toes, push our hands into the ground, really nice and strong. And then rock back. If you need to, just kind of relax those hands down, rock side to side in that forward fold. And then what we're going to do is walk up towards the top of the mat. To walk up towards the top of the mat, again, bend the knees so the hands are down on the ground. I want you to think about coming up onto your tippy toes again. Let's step the left foot forward and the right hand forward. So opposite sides. So it's like a bear crawl, but our hips are up nice and high. Other leg, other hand and leg. And then last time, You can walk those feet out onto the outside of the mat, and we're going to come down into a deep squat. So we thought the shoulder suck was done, it's not. We're going to tuck the chin, push the hips up, and then stand up nice and tall. Just do a couple of cook squats, get the hips warmed up. Sit back and down. Tuck the chin, push the hips up. And then last time, come down into whatever your deep squat is. And now what I want you to think about doing is thumbs facing up towards the ceiling like this. Try and lift one hand overhead. And then back down. Other hand. Again, one side might be easier than the other. Come down. And now both hands up overhead. We're going to push the ground away and come up into that half squat position. Hands come in behind our head. We're in a prisoner position now. And let's come up to stand. Let's come back down, try and keep that chest up, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And then come back up. Try and keep that tension on the hip flexors the whole time. Really squeezing the shoulder blades back. One more time. Let's come down about midway. Come into a W position and then push up into a Y. Come down into a W position, push up into a Y. If you need to do this in a kind of quarter squat as well, that's totally fine. Just pick whichever level is good for you. We want it to be active and strong. Working our quads, working our hip flexors, working our shoulders, but not hurting our back. So pull into that lower abdomen the whole time, and then hands come down, push the hips up. And again, you can just rock side to side. Just relax, take that lower back. Good work. Good news is we're going to do it again. So feet come out, we're going to drop down into our deep squat again. Left hand comes up and then down. Right hand comes up and then down. Again, if you need to, you can just stay in a quarter squat position. It doesn't have to be a deep squat. So whatever that is for you. And then both hands come up overhead. Stand up, pause. Stand up, pause. Stand up, pause. Last time, stand up, pause. Hands come in behind the head again. We're going to go into that prisoner stretch variation. And let's drop down. Slow and controlled. Tummy tight. Core tight. Really being trying active through the legs. And then come into that W position again. Push up into a Y. W and then Y. W and then Y. Super guys. W, Y, and then hands come down, hips go up. And you can just shake out the legs. Super. Okay, what we're going to do now is let's inchworm those feet back, and we're going to go into a child's pose position. So just drop the knees down to the mat and rest that forehead down. Just get a couple of deep breaths here. We're going to do a little bit of shoulder work in this position as well. So two options, you can have the hips back, or if you want, you can have the hands a little bit further forward. Just make sure again that if you're in that further forward position, you're pulling up through the lower abdomen, so there's no pressure on the lower back. Rotate the hands so the palms are facing in towards each other and the thumbs are facing up towards the ceiling. What we're going to do in this position then, let's push the right arm straight down into the ground. So we're almost trying to indent the outside of our hand into the mat. Really squeeze that right shoulder blade down, trying to lift the hand up off the mat. So we're trying to peel that arm and that hand thumb up towards the ceiling, keeping our head down on the ground. Let's drop the hand down and push down into the mat again. For some of us, the hand isn't going to move. That's totally fine. Let's try and lift the hand up. So I'm activating all those muscles in the back of my right shoulder. My core is tight. Trying to hover that hand an inch off the ground. Keep the arm straight. And back down. Let's push the hand into the mat again. We're going to do this for a third time. Let's squeeze the back of the shoulder, lift that thumb up and hold for 10, 9, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a rest if you need to. Walk the hands back into child's pose if you're in puppy pose. Let's just roll and round those shoulders out. So a couple of rotations back and then a couple of rotations forward. We're going to do the same onto the other side. Again, come forward into that puppy position if it's comfortable for you. Head down. Thumbs pointing up towards the ceiling. Outside of the hand, down on the mat. We're going to push that left hand down into the mat for 5. Keep pushing. And then let's try and squeeze the back of the shoulder, peel that hand up. And again, there may be a difference. So my left hand doesn't come up as much as my right, but I still just keep trying to work with it in the range that it has. Let's push that hand down again. Good, keep trying to push that hand down, 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 down into the mat. And then keep the forehead down and lift that thumb up towards the ceiling, arm straight. You're trying to peel it up off the mat. Keeping that arm straight. Good, last time. Push the hand down. And then let's try and lift that arm up off the mat. Keep the forehead down, so I'm really working all the muscles of the back of my shoulder. We're going to hold for 10 seconds. I've distracted you for 5 of those. 3, 2, 1, and then fully come back into that child's pose. Just completely relax down and take a couple of breaks. If you need to roll out your shoulders again, you're more than welcome to. Super nice. What we're going to do next, we're going to do some 90-90 work for our hips. So again, come into a seated position, toes pointing forward, hands back. Again, if you need to just make sure the chest is up nice and proud on this. What we are going to do here, if you can have the feet a little bit wider than your hips, drop the legs out towards one side. Try and keep the hips down. You try and get the 2 knees down towards the ground. Come back in towards the center and let's go out towards the other side. Super, back in and out. And then back in and shimming and then back out. If that feels really comfortable, you can actually come up into a seated position and the hands right in front. Here and out. So again, we're just going to use our torso and our core and our hip flexor a little bit more. Don't worry if you start bum shuffling around. It happens. And then if you want for a final one, you can come out to the outside and lift the hips up. Now just be mindful of the ground because it can be a little bit intense on the knees. Push back, drop the hips out towards the other side. Don't worry if you can't do this. But if you can, we're trying to squeeze the glutes, get the hips through, back down, one more on each side. Drop the knees out, torso up, squeeze the glutes. Nice. Let's come back in towards the center, rotate out, squeeze the glutes, and slip and slide all over my wooden floor. There's so much grip. And then come back in. What we're going to do now is go into that butterfly position. This is where if you need that pillow underneath your hips to sit up nice and tall, you can. But essentially in this position, we're going to do those push-pulls again and try and strengthen up muscles on the inside of our groin and our hip flexor. So elbows come in towards the thighs. Try and pull the chest forward. I don't want to round through the back. I'm trying to be nice and proud through that chest. It's my hips that are leaning forward. And then what I'm going to do is start pushing my legs up against my elbows. So I'm trying to create lots of tension in those muscles and in those fascia lines on the inside of my thighs. Keep pushing up, up, up. Don't move your elbows, but try and pull the knees away from your elbows. So I'm using my glutes here to try and pull those knees down towards the mat. Now I'm going to bring my elbows back down if I can to meet my knees where they are. I'm going to push my legs up against those elbows again, creating lots of tension again through the fascia on the inside of my thighs. Keep pushing, hip flexors are working, adductors are working, keep going up, 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 up. And then again, don't move the elbows, but we're trying to pull those legs away from my thighs. So we're really using the glutes here to try and pull those knees down towards the mat, really open up the hips. Try and keep the back flat, lean a little bit more forward if you can. Elbows go down. Let's push it again, last time. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And then let's squeeze the glutes. Try and pull those thighs down towards the ground. And then if you want to, you can bring those hands out in front as well. So you can let go of the feet. And again, that's just going to make you kick in those muscles in your hips a little bit deeper. Keep holding. Really squeeze the glutes. Really try and imagine that your knees are on 2 inches, just being pulled down towards the ground. And then just relax there. You can let go of the tension in the thighs and you can round through your back and drop the head down towards your feet. And just try and take a couple of deep breaths. If you want, you can kind of reach those hands out in front to get a bit of a deeper stretch through the back. And then I'm going to get you guys to walk the hands up in towards the center. You're going to bring those legs out towards the outside, we're going to do some pancake forward folds. So again, this is where that pillow can come in useful, to have those hips a little bit higher than your feet. You just want to make sure you're kind of tilted forward so that you're high on your sit bones. And again, imagine that someone has your chest on a rope that's going to pull you forward. So it's not about collapsing down towards the ground. We're trying to pull ourselves forward, reach those hands out in front. So try not round to the back, try and keep the chest up. So even if that means we're only here, where those hands are on the outside, and we're trying to push ourselves forward like this, that's totally fine. So just pick whichever one works best for you. And then trying to keep that chest up, let's walk out towards the left thigh. Hands can come up now. We're going to lift the right arm up, right arm down. Left hand up, left hand down. Right arm up, right hand down, left hand up, left hand down. Hands can come back down to the mat. Rotate out towards the right hand side. So you're trying to be active through the hip flexor here when we do this. So we're trying to use the hip flexor to hold our torso in the same position. And then my hands come up, right hand up, and then down, left hand up, and down. And again, if we're in this position here, that's totally fine. Just try and kick in the core and that hip flexor. So whatever level you're at, you can still engage the muscles and try and work on that mind-muscle connection. And then bring ourselves forward. We're going to do one rep where we push the hands into the ground and try and peel that leg up off the ground. So what I'm trying to do, even here now for me, I'm at so far at my end range that that leg isn't lifting, but I'm trying to peel it up. So we want to be at that point where it's really, really hard. I'm working that hip flexor. And then I just relax down and I can let that head come down to the ground. And I'm going to walk the hands out to the other side and repeat. Okay, walk the hands out towards the left hand side again. Try and keep the chest up. We're really trying to think about, again, active through the hip flexor here. And let's try and engage that hip flexor to try and peel that leg up off the ground. So if I was a little bit further back, I'd be able to lift that leg up, but because I'm so far forward, it's at my end range and it's really, really hard. But I'm kicking in that hip flexor, trying to build up that strength. And then I relax and I can just let that head come down. Super. Okay, walk those hands up. We're going to shimmy the hips around and come down into a side lying position. We're going to do two moves here, one for our shoulders and one for our legs. For our legs first. Again, it's that same concept of push and pull. If you haven't noticed, we're doing lots of strengthening work on the old hips. So bear with me, this looks a little bit strange, but you're going to bring one leg out in front. So that bottom leg is out in front of that 90 degree position. What I want you to think about doing is rotating that thigh. So you're trying to get the foot up towards the ceiling. And we're in that externally rotated position. Then hand comes out in front because you're going to need a little bit of counterbalance. You can move the top leg on top. What I'm going to do is try and push down with this leg and push up against that top foot with my bottom leg. So straight away I'm kicking in these muscles here. Very slowly I'm going to let that top leg win. So you can kind of see that my legs are shaking. So I'm keep trying to push up against it with my bottom leg. But that top leg and gravity are going to win slowly but surely. I'm trying to keep that tension on the whole time. Going for a full 15 to 20 seconds. And then relax there. Top leg can come back again. We're going to do the same. Let's internally rotate. Hand can go out in front. A little bit of tension. Counterbalance. Put that foot on top. Now straight away, let's kick in this thigh. But I'm slowly but surely pushing down with that top leg and trying to create lots of tension through this bottom leg. You can see it shaking, which isn't shocking. Let's keep pushing down, 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 down. So it's just one long eccentric. And then relax there. What we're going to do now is just a couple of internal reps like this. We're going to do about 5. Try and keep that knee down. And on that last one, I want you to hold. And if you can, try and pulse it. So you can see my pulses are really small. I'm just trying to see if there's a tiny bit of extra range. And again, I'm working these muscles here. Going for about 8 to 10. And then relax there. We're going to come into a side lying position. Again, if you have that pillow, you can prop it in underneath your head. You can grab one for me. just to support the neck so it's a little bit more comfortable. And what we're going to do is some internal rotation work on our shoulder. So this bottom shoulder, it's pinned to the ground. My elbow is ideally in line with that shoulder. If you need to have it in a little bit closer, if you feel like it's pinching at the front of the shoulder, that's totally fine. Again, torso is nice and stacked. If you're feeling pinching, you can always open up that chest a little bit more, so there's less internal rotation going through the shoulder. Try and bring the hand down as close as you can towards the mat, and then your top hand just comes down to rest on top of it. So you should be getting a nice stretch in the back of the shoulder, and I'm really being mindful that this shoulder doesn't pop up off the mat, so I'm keeping it pinned down. Very gently, I'm going to start pushing up with that bottom hand against my top hand, so just like we did with the leg. I'm taking my top hand away, and then I'm trying to pull that hand further down towards the mat, so I'm using the muscles on my shoulder to try and internally rotate and pull that fist down towards the mat. Trying to keep it in that 90-degree position if at all possible. Hand comes on top again, we're going to push up against, a little bit harder this time, a bit more tension. So I'm using that top hand as a source of resistance against that bottom arm. Take the top hand away, let's try and pull that hand down, so you can get a little bit further. Keep pulling again, watch to make sure that that bottom shoulder doesn't pop up off the mat, and then hand down. Let's push up last time. 10, 9, 8, 6, 3, 2, and 1, and then we're just relaxing, and just very gently using the weight of that top hand to bring us into a passive stretch for that shoulder and elbow. So just start taking a few slow deep breaths here. And now we're slowly going to come out of that. Bring the hand in front, and then we're going to push ourselves up and swap over onto the other side. So being able to internally and externally rotate your thighs, and then also your arm bones in the old shoulder joints is really going to help with squats, and then also that overhead mobility as well. So we're going to start with the leg first. Bring that leg out 90 degree. Let's rotate so that heel is going up towards the ceiling. Hand out in front for a little bit of counterbalance. Leg on top. And then I'm going to keep pushing up against that bottom leg, but slowly and surely that top leg wins. Again, we're thinking of it as one slow eccentric, like we do maybe with our RDLs or our weights. So bring the legs back up again, heel up towards the ceiling, top leg on top. Create that tension, try and push up against you, trying to get that bottom leg to win. But gravity's on the side of that top leg, and slowly it wins, but I keep trying to push up against it. And then I relax. Legs comes back, foot goes up towards the ceiling again. Top leg on top. Last time, we're going to push down, slow and controlled. Really using those muscles on the inside of my thigh. Keep pushing up against the top foot. And then we're down on the mat. And we're going to go into that hold again. So let's try and bring that thigh or the foot up towards the ceiling, rotating the thigh and then back down. So you're trying to almost imagine that that knee is pinned to the ground and the heel is going up. And then on that last rep, let's hold and small pulses up, up, up. It might not move. We're just trying to really get that muscle firing. About 8 to 10 on these. And then slowly you can relax up there. Again, just make sure you're comfortable with your legs. We're going to go into the shoulder stretch. So arm out of that 90 degree position. Again, if you need to, chest can be a little bit more open, and elbow can be a little bit further in. Just try and pull that arm down towards the mat first, and then bring the hand on top. And just relax. So first we just get into that passive stretch. And then start ramping up that tension through the bottom arm. We're going to start pushing up against that top hand. And then I'm trying to pull that bottom hand away from my top hand. So I'm trying to use the muscles of that bottom arm to pull it further into internal rotation. Keep pulling down. Make sure the shoulder doesn't pop up off the mat. We're keeping it pinned. Then the hand comes on top again. The top hand is on top of the bottom hand. And I'm pushing up against it. That top hand is blocking it, but if I took it away, it would come back as if you're doing a Cuban rotation. So keep pushing up. And then let's pull down in towards the mat again. I'm trying to hold that same position. Maybe you can pull it further towards the mat if I can. And then last time, hand goes on top. Let's push up for 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, 3, 2, and 1. Let's relax and just lower down into that passive stretch. Start taking those slow, steady, deep breaths. So breathing in. And then breathing out. And then if you need to just let that hand come up, straighten it out, and we're going to roll over onto our back. We're going to go to a happy baby pose just to finish. So again, different variations here. You can bring the hands on top of the thighs and hug those into you. Or if you're more comfortable with the stretch, hands on the outside of those feet. Try and keep the tailbone down and the head down, whatever position you're in. I just want you to close the eyes and take 3 to 4 really slow, deep breaths. So just try and make them the longest ones that you can do. Really think about expanding the rib cage as you breathe in, and then slowly exhaling through that mouth. So when you're breathing in, you're feeling that stomach and rib cage expand against the thighs. And then when you're breathing out, you're just feeling it soften and pull away from the thighs. Just see if you can add a second or two to the inhale and also to the exhale. And just releasing the feet then. Bring the hands to the top of the knees and we sort of do a few circles in and then a few circles out. So just roll the hips. So out and in, out and in, and then just change direction. And then we're going to roll over onto our side. Push up into a seated position. And we're done. Hopefully everyone's hips are feeling nice and worked. Don't be shocked if you're a little bit dodgy tomorrow. Just FYI, that's totally normal. But good flow, good session.